So here we are back in Photoshop with a brand new blank file. We are also on the 3D workspace that we talked about last lesson. Now instead of creating a new 3D object, we're going to load one from a pre-existing file. But first, let's try to find one. Let's go to the 3D menu and go to Get More Content. And this will load the web browser and bring you to the photoshop.com website and displaying the working with 3D content. And if you scroll down, there's a downloadable 3D content area. Adobe has partnered with several providers of 3D content so that you can freely download models and image-based lights and textures and several different 3D elements to use in Photoshop. So let's try the Models and Meshes link, and we have 4 to choose from here. I'm going to go with the Archive 3D. It brings up this site that offers a whole host of different models for free. I'm going to the Land Transport category and start looking through for one of these car models that I might like. So I've decided on a Jeep 3D model, and I'm going to hit the download link, and it talks about the agreements that you need to sign, and that's okay. I will save the file, and then off screen I will unzip this file and extract it into its own folder. And so after unpacking that zip file, we see that that has provided us with several different files in here. There's a text file that just talks about the author and the provider for the model. There's a actual 3ds file, and that's key because that's the actual model file that we're going to want to deal with. And there's a entire folder full of textures for this Jeep. So what do we do with this? Well, let's go to the 3D menu again and say New 3D Layer from File. And then we will pick that 3ds file. Now if you're looking for different file formats that you might be able to import, let's look at the All Formats drop down here. The 3ds, which is a 3D Studio file, is going to be the most popular. Second to that is probably the Wavefront OBJ. That's a pretty popular format as well. And then you have these 4 other ones, the .dae, the FL3, the Google Earth, and the STL. Those occasionally you'll run into, but the majority of objects that you might import into Photoshop will be in the 3ds or the OBJ formats. Now this new file pop-up box here is a brand new feature found in the latest version of Photoshop CC. And what this lets you do is specify the scene size according to the units that you'd like. A common problem when importing 3D models is the scale they come in as. If you've ever worked with any 3D objects before, you know that sometimes they come in as massively huge or ridiculously tiny. This helps to try to rectify some of those issues. We'll leave it at the default pixels for now. And then Photoshop imports this file, and we can see over here in the 3D panel what the scene looks like. It's got several different elements to it, along with some texture files already assigned to the different elements in it. Now let's hit the current view and start spinning things around and taking a look at what we have. Something that's important to note when you're working with a 3D file like this, many times it's a lot easier to see what you're doing if you get a secondary view. So we go to View, Show, 3D Secondary View. And what that gives us is a top-down view of this model. So if you're trying to move things around and position them relative to other objects, this is an absolutely valuable tool. Now you can change this from being an exact top down to any of the other positions for the camera. Now this particular model did import very cleanly. The model came in very well. There doesn't appear to be very many issues or problems with this. That's not always the case. Sometimes you'll get models that come in and they look almost fragmented, like they've been exploded and every little nut and bolt went in all different directions. There's some things you can do to try to rectify that, but really they're not all that reliable. You end up spending a lot of time selecting each individual little aspect of the model and trying to move each of those into place. And it doesn't tend to work out all that well. So if you have a model that comes in and it doesn't look nice and clean like this one seems to, really your best recourse is to just pick another model.